take you back to the past, the old past. Jesus once said that he's the life, the truth, and the way, and that no one cometh to the Father but through him. So in the new nowness, are you the way to the real universes, or the way is, and it's no one's property? And if it is, can anyone find the real universes without you and your real education, the real guidance, courses? I think the way is there for everyone. Some people may think this way, especially those who have come and gone, and those who are yet to go. So they will say, "Oh, the way is so I can life will show me," and they'll see no reason for continuing to stay with the new presentation. They may ask, why should I adhere to the new presentation? Life itself will hold my hand through the shores of life. So what do you say about this, Duane?
It's exactly so. In other words, life is available to everybody. This is what we've created here, just like Paul did, and any of the boys in the past or whatever. It's just a reference. So you got Rumi and all these ideas, all this old wisdom, and these are just references. But what has happened over the ages is that these references have been marketed a particular way into mind vices for people to adhere to, so they can be controlled. So just like the so-called sayings or teachings of Jesus, who wrote that book? Did Jesus write it or whatever? No, of course not. And even the written word, it always becomes misunderstood because it can be taken any way at all. So in other words, I've created the new presentation as an example, as a reference to the all is. That's all it is. And anyone can come up and say, "Oh, you created this to destroy the earth. That's why you created it." You see? So again, they can take anything and whatever and make it so. Well, fine. So no, life is available to everybody, but I'm grateful to have the knowledge and the guidance. Okay, there's a lot more that comes to it than just the new presentation. Again, as an individual walks into the schoolroom, the teacher is there as an example. But if they stay out there and whatever, well, did they learn possibly what they could? Again, it's choice, and it's all fine. Everything is fine. I'm just, living my life, sharing my experiences. That's all I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm right. I look to the real guides, etc. It's a procession of things for their guidance, because they are the intermediates with the all is. I look to the is, I look to the real guides. Yeah, even though I recognize the is, but that's not fully because it's endless. No one could do that. I could just say, well, I don't need Rebusar and Paul anymore or whatever. But that's not the idea. This is what people think in their personal minds. Fine, go for it. It's not that I need them, but I love being with them and supporting them and sharing them. You see, this is where we all support each other. This is what most people don't see, just like a family. When a family, the idea really originally of a family is just that, like the farmers. Everybody supports each other because it's survival. Today, people leave the family because they want a career, okay? Is there a difference? Yes, there is. Now they want a career in the business world, and they don't see it to help basically destroy the world. And so, but the so-called old days, which there are still some farmers around, they don't see it like that. And you know what? Look at all the people that are in the city that look for organic farming. They want natural farming. They don't want the computerized synthetic foods. But a lot of people are fine with it. So again, it's a little bit funny, isn't it? So I look for all the avenues that make sense, but not everybody does. Most people want to go with their own ideas, thinking that, well, I don't need to do this or do that because I want to be free. Well, fine, do it. We just had a person that decided that was translating the books and decided that, you know what, I don't want anything to do with this. And I don't want to translate the books anymore. I don't want to be with a computer or whatever. Fine. So all those people that could have a chance to wake up, they won't now, because we'll see if we can find someone else to translate the Spanish books, etc. And so you look at both sides. There's two sides to the coin. Yeah, you can do it on your own, and life is there for everybody if they recognize it. All I'm proposing is, literal ideas with the world as it is, to show people how to better recognize what's taking place from what I recognize and share. But other than that, there's no obligations. Nobody's obligated to anything. And Paul created the membership simply because for those times to, in a way, get people to be obligated, just like in a marriage. When two people get married, you've created an obligation there, but sometimes people don't see it that way. And so, again, everybody's going to handle it accordingly. But I didn't want to set up the new presentation like that. There's no obligations. Everybody can do whatever they want. Go do it. I'll do it myself. I'm fine with it. All I'm doing is, like in the beginning, I'm sharing my real side experiences. I'm promoting the real guides in reference to the all is. Because again, just like Paul is there, Rebazar and whatever, and many people look to Paul, just like they look to Harry, etc. And it's really not about that. It was really Rebazar that related to Paul, what Paul created, and Paul just created it in his own way according to what Rebazar related to him. And so it's handed along, not down, but it's handed along to those people that have the awareness to see it, and that will do it. It's a matter of doing it, because it provides, it makes a way for this all aliveness to become alive in creation. And if no one does it, guess what? It don't happen. And so these people that come and go, unless they have the awareness to recognize this, just more so than, oh, I want to be free and I want to live under the sun and I want to lay in the grass. Okay, that's great. It's like the birds and the animals. Hey, they're in nature, they're wonderful. But who is it can recognize the isness, the true reality, aside from creation, because of what they're doing? Can you do that? No, you basically can't, can you? You're still one-dimensional, but hey, you're with nature like Tarzan. It's a great life while it lasts. But because the world is like it is today, destroying itself, guess what? You ain't got long. And then the future lifetimes when you got to come back because you didn't recognize the is, that's up to you. You got to deal with it again. It's going to be a lot worse. So yes, you look at all the particulars. There's actually many sides to the coin, isn't there, Charles? Me, again, I would rather pay attention to the adventure as I've learned it. But again, everybody has the choice, and there are no obligations here, and nothing is negated. Everything is fine, whatever each person decides.
Okay, Duane, the world is caught in the trap of nostalgia. That wistful, evocative, and sentimental, sometimes modeling and dewy-eyed looking at the past. I find that you sometimes sound nostalgic, even though you stand on the ground of the east. At this time when you are somehow nostalgic, are you expressing the human side of yourself, or are you just referencing?
We all have that side to ourselves, Charles. We all feel and, deal with our five senses. It's part of it. It's all a mixture, like cake batter. You got water, sugar, flour. It's all a mixture. And because we are still have a physical body here until we don't, this is what it is. And it's all okay. And it's just learning to sort it out, to learning to see what makes sense according to what we're doing every moment. So, sometimes we sit around and we talk and we joke about things. Or sometimes we're like on the Skype here, where we're more focused on the ideas that, are related. So it just depends. So it's not about any of these things. It's just each person is going to do what they're going to do. And just like you, this is rather a literal education that we're providing here for something for people to start to understand. We're at the starting point here. There's a lot more to come. And even though it's, just like Paul, he was just really at the starting point, because it didn't stop there, because we've continued on here, which has become more so than what was related there. So we're always at the starting point because there's always more to come. And yes, the personal side gets involved too. It's kind of fun. That's where we laugh and giggle and, listen to these funny things that are said about us and what we say about others.
Okay, you just talked about one's true focus, one's true intent, as maybe helping to catch up with the pace of change. In the way you present your message. So what else can this true intent really, how else can it help one to arrive at one's goal?
Well, again, it's like, we're all on the bus together. And when you decide to, when the bus has arrived at our field trip, we all get off the bus. And from there, we decide what to do. So this is where the individual, once they have the information to a certain point about, what makes them up, their five bodies, their intent, their imagination, their intuition, all these things, okay? And it's like getting off the bus. At that point, you decide what you're going to do. You see, that's up to the individual. That's, I'm not one of the invented social systems where they continually tell you what to do and how to live your life. Constantly, it's the big brother will constantly, the idea is that, you don't have to imagine anymore. We'll decide everything for you. It'll all be decided for you. And that's fine when it comes to the personal self surviving here. Hey, if if the government wants to decide my housing and this and that, pay for whatever and my shopping and etc., give me a card, whatever, hey, I'm fine with that. I'll work the system. And many people will say, well, you're being controlled or whatever, and it's fine. Hey, I'm knowing effect in this system because the system is what it is. I'm not here to change the system. I'm not here to buck it. If it creates some kind of benefit to survive, hey, I'm fine. I'm fine with it, because at the same time, I really focus on my real awareness, because I know that creation is just what it is. But then again, I have a choice also. But when it comes to the intent of the individual, that's where, when you get off the bus, you decide. In other words, that's the part that you have to see within yourself. So you have the mechanics of the five bodies. But beyond that, just like intuition, which relates to one of the bodies, it is not the body, okay? It interprets. It is a receiver, like the brain here is a receiver. The brain is just a receiver in the physical, and these various bodies, they're receivers, and they enact certain, they invoke certain things also according to their functions, just like your car. You put in drive, it goes forward. You put in reverse, it goes backwards. You turn on the radio, but turning on the radio doesn't make the car go backwards and forwards, does it? No, everything has its function. And just like the five bodies, they have functions, but then there's your real awareness and that recognition. And see, the intent comes in to where, you can recognize, many people have had experiences in the real universes. They recognize them or they don't. Even the ones that do recognize them, they still make the choice, and they still determine their own intent. That's different. That's not something that can be decided for the individual. You see, it's kind of like a man tied up for questioning when one country grabs him as a spy and tries to beat the heck out of him, get all the ideas that he knows out of him. Well, again, if he sticks to his intent and doesn't want to tell, it ain't going to happen, so he'll be beaten to death. So again, that intent is a choice from ourselves and how we wish to apply that and recognize it accordingly. So there's a difference there. So while you're on the bus, everybody's in the idea that's been created, but once you're off the bus, then you might say you're on your own. So if you decide to, get several of your friends and say, hey, let's go chase butterflies. Okay, so again, you get several of your friends and they go, okay, let's go do that. You see, that becomes their intent. But I'm referring to a real intent, what the all is. And this is very interesting. And this is where people come and go. In other words, until they have that real intent, just like a marriage between two people, only way more so. This is what Ribazar said, life demands a marriage, and it's about your intent. It's very important. Only the individual can do that. No amount of knowledge or education is going to decide that. So there's really so many parts to ourselves to recognize. And so this is where, yes, what I've created helps do that, but people can go try to figure it out on their own, and it's fine. It's none of my business. I'm just doing what I can. So yes, young man, again, I look at that all the time. I don't take it for granted. I don't take my intent for granted. I look at that all the time, just like a farmer would every day get up, know the crops are growing, and make sure they're watered, look at the ground, etc. Just check everything out, go over everything the best they can. And I see the intent of the individual, my intent with this isness. I see that it is very precious, and most people take it for granted. They just think, oh, well, I'm here, I'm doing this or whatever. Okay, well, yeah, you are. But why is it that the guidance is there and the boys are constantly showing you things? Because there's a lot more to it, but it just depends upon how you pay attention to it. But I see intent as number one, and this recognition with the isness. And then you still have to deal with creation. I still have to deal with it. I'm still in my situation. Again, I'm just paying the rent here. That's the whole idea. But I could go out there and I could be the big businessman. I was before. I had a great business. But, I don't see that's just going to satisfy my personal self. Okay. So I'm focused on doing this full time because I see the world needs help. But if it doesn't want what we're providing, that's fine too. But I'm still doing it because I love to share. This is my love affair at Ribazar and Paul and the boys with what they're doing, because their intent is 100% standing real with and that's what I like. And that's my focus. And it's not about the words and everything I'm expressing. I'm just laying out hints to, see if people are interested. But yeah, that intent, it's very precious, Charles, and it has nothing to do with me. I provide what's workable in creation. So do the boys. They do too. On the real side or here, they provide what's workable in creation. But when it comes to that, the reality of ourselves, our real awareness in that relationship, that's where they stand back. They bring you there. It's like dad brings you, he can drop you off at the college, just like your first day at school or whatever, can drop you off. Can't make you learn. Can't make you see or understand or, make new friends or whatever. Can't do that part. But can lead you up to that, you see. So this is what we're doing here. This is what I'm doing is, with all this. And at the same time, we're doing all kinds of funny stuff, which is good. We're just keeping busy in the physical sense because it's about survival. So it's not a plan. We don't have a plan. It's really whatever it is. Whatever it comes to be every moment, and we just see what it is, and at the same time have a little fun with it while the world's doing what it's doing. And I'm in California here, and a lot of dastardly stuff's going on. It's all over the place, and it's coming closer all the time until it's all done, unless people wake up and step up. But for the most part, they've been taught to be passive. And so you've got a lot going on here. They're relocating people here is what they're doing with all these fires. They're really relocating them purposely and to get them to submit and create more fear. This is the world. We got to deal with that too. I don't want to focus on this stuff all the time. That's why my focus is, hey, learn to recognize the isness. And at the same time, at least you have that awareness to relate to something. And if everybody had this awareness, the world wouldn't be like it is. But they don't. So they're looking to, again, the world controllers, they want to survive too. And they think in their minds that controlling others is the way to survive. But it's not, because it all reflects itself. In other words, they have to deal with themselves and everything else accordingly. But if things were in, you might say, a natural process of being aware of how things really survive, this wouldn't occur. But it is. It's happening. We're on Earth. This is it. So, but that intent, which very few people ever recognize, is the most precious once you do, because you will eventually leave this place. Everybody will. And you will go with your intent or you won't. It's a choice that you make. But while you're here, you can, you might say, build upon it the best you can while you're aware of it. Because even many people that go to the other side, they forget. We see them on the real side. They don't know where they're at. Just because you go to the real side and leave here doesn't mean, voila, you're all of a sudden instantly aware. Not at all. Most people that go to the real side, which is usually the astral world somewhere, they're lost. They have no idea what's going on. And even the thing that we did with Marjorie Klemp here, I asked Claudia to go in there as a witness. I said, go talk to her. And she was given the opportunity. She doesn't know where she's at. And she doesn't want anything to do with Rebazar or Paul or myself or anybody. She don't want the guidance. And she's in a total miserable place, dealing with it, etc. But she made the choice, you see. It's very interesting, the choices we make. And so what I'm specifying has real value, but you really have to learn to see it. That's your part. All I can do is, put forth the words and the ideas. But the reality of ourselves, to recognize that between ourselves, that's up to the individual to do that or not.